Good morning, students. Today we are going to see the demonstration of some of the important instruments and glasswares that is very important for me chemistry practical examination. So one by one we will see the instruments, we will see its function, we will see how we have to use this, what precaution we have to keep while using these instruments. So starting with the first and the simplest one, this one. This glassware has name conical flask, also known as titration flask. So this titration flask, as you can see, it is conical in shape, that's why it is called conical flask. This conical flask is mainly used for titration purpose. Whenever we have to perform titration, whether it be acid-base titration or it be redox titration, in all the cases, this conical flask is very useful. This conical flask comes in different volume. For example, here in my hand, it is a 250 ml conical flask. It comes of bigger 500 ml also, 100 ml also. So this is conical flask. Second thing is the measuring cylinder. Whenever we have to measure a certain volume of water, suppose we are preparing solution, and in preparation of solution we need a certain volume of solution. For example, we can see here, suppose if we are preparing 40% NaOH solution, in that case what we will do, we will take 40 gram NaOH solution, and this 40 gram NaOH solution will dissolve in 100 ml water. Another use, suppose you have to prepare 2 NaOH solution. If you are going to prepare 2 NaOH solution, in that case you need 2 mole NaOH, and molar mass of NaOH, as we can see here, will be 23 plus 1, 16 plus 1, that will be equal to 40 gram. This will be equal to 40 gram. So 2 mole means total we need 80 gram in 1 liter. And if I give you task to prepare 100 ml solution, in that case what you will do, that you will divide it by 10, that will be 8 gram. You will dissolve 8 gram sodium hydroxide in 100 ml to take certain volume of water also. So how will you take water? That you will take with the help of measuring cylinder. In our lab we have 2 varieties of measuring cylinder, one having of 100 ml, another one having of 10 ml. Sometimes we need very small volume, in that case we use this 10 ml measuring cylinder, and when we need 100 ml measuring cylinder, in that case we use this one. So this is basically measuring cylinder. Calibration mark is here. You can see the maximum volume that we can measure through this is 100 ml, and there is difference of 10 ml, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 like that, and there are total 10 sections in this. So the minimum volume that we can measure is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 divided by 5, 2 ml. Minimum that we can measure is 2 ml volume. Maximum we can measure 100 ml by using this measuring cylinder. But whenever we have to measure 1 or 2 ml, in that case we use this 10 ml measuring cylinder. Now we come to standard flask. This one is standard flask. You can see something written here, 250 plus minus 0.3, 27 degrees Celsius. This calibration, this information is written here on the standard flask. This one is a standard measuring flask. In a standard measuring flask, it is of 250 ml. This comes of 100 ml in our lab. 100 ml measuring cylinder, standard measuring cylinder flask is there. So in this 250 ml standard flask, there is one circle at the top. You can see here. You can see here this circle. This circle is the mark up to which we have to fill liquid. Suppose we have to measure 200 ml, then we will fill liquid in this standard measuring flask up to this circle, and it will be exactly 250 ml. But as I taught you in the class 11 class, there is always error associated with the instrument, and that error is mentioned here, that is plus minus 0.3 at 27 degrees Celsius. That if you measure 250 ml volume by using, if you measure 250 ml by using standard measuring flask, in that case it may have error of 0.3 ml. So this is standard measuring flask, how we use it. Now question arises that why can't we measure 250 ml by using the measuring cylinder? This can also we can do with the help of measuring cylinder, but the problem with measuring cylinder is that it is not perfectly calibrated. If we measure 250 ml, it will have more error, but if we measure the same with the help of standard measuring flask, it will be approximately accurate 250 ml. So that's why we use standard measuring flask. Now we can prepare two types of solution, colored solution and colorless solution. If we are preparing colored solution, then there is a special method of observing this. If you keep this standard measuring flask above, then you will see the upper meniscus of liquid will appear. If you will see up, upper meniscus will appear downside, and if you keep it downside, you will see upper meniscus will appear upside. So in that case, you will have confusion that whether liquid is on the circle, below the circle, or above the circle. To avoid this confusion, we always keep this circle parallel to our eyes. It should be parallel to our eyes. When we keep parallel to eyes, then we can check whether meniscus is upside or downside. In case of colored solution, we'll check the upper part of the meniscus is touching this circle or not. And in case of colorless solution, we'll check lower part of meniscus is touching this circle or not. In short, we can say whenever we have to take colored solution, we will check upper part of meniscus should touch this circle. If we are taking colorless solution, in that case, lower part of the meniscus should touch this circle. So how we use this? First we take a small volume of water. In this, suppose this is of 250 ml. In this we will take 50 ml water, and then in that we will add solute. Whatever solute we have to add, that will add. Then we will, this you can see, cork is here. This is glass cork. We will fit it and then we will shake it. When we will shake it, salt will dissolve inside. Once salt is dissolved, then with the help of wash bottle, we pour water inside the standard measuring flask up to this circle, keeping it parallel to our eyes. When what upper part of the meniscus, if it is colored, and in case of colorless, lower part of the meniscus touches this circle, then we have prepared exactly 250 ml solution. So basically, this one is known as standard measuring flask. With the help of this flask, we can prepare solution of any strength up to 250 ml. Now next is we have here this one. This is pipette. Name of this instrument is pipette. Here in my lab, in our lab, we have 10 ml pipette as well as 20 ml pipette. So you can see here, this one is of 10 ml pipette. Okay, so in 10 ml pipette, whenever we have to take 10 ml, then again you may ask question, why not we can use this standard measuring flask? The answer is, this standard measuring flask or this measuring flask is not that much accurate as this pipette is. If you will take 10 ml, it will have fluctuation, but if you measure 10 ml with the help of pipette, you will have accurate 10 ml solution. So how we do this? To do this, very simple is there. If there is solution in this titration flask, then we dip the mouth inside and then we suck with the help of mouth. When solution, and we have to keep our eyes on the pipette so that solution should not go inside our mouth. So when solution comes little above this circle, you can see here, you can see circle. If you will see, you can see one circle is here. So when liquid comes above this circle, then put our thumb above it. When we put thumb above it, then liquid will not exudate downside. It will not percolate downside. It will remain inside the pipette. Then we release our thumb slowly, because when we release our thumb, atmospheric pressure will act on it and that will start to push liquid downward. When this liquid, upper part, I told you in case of colored solution, upper part, and in case of colorless solution, lower part of the meniscus. When we release this thumb and lower part of the meniscus in case of colorless solution touches this circle, then we again close this tip with the help of our thumb, and then we release it in our titration flask or conical flask. Suppose we have taken solution from this standard measuring flask, from here we have taken solution, then we will transfer this solution inside the conical flask and we will release this thumb slowly. When we will release, we will remove our thumb slowly, solution will come inside the conical flask. We often observe that during the transfer of solution from pipette to standard conical flask, sometimes students do mistake that they touch the wall of conical flask. We should avoid this. Why? Because if we touch the wall of conical flask, some droplets will stick to the wall and that will not involve in the titration process. So there will be error in our calculation. So to avoid that, we should take pipette and touch at the bottom of conical flask and then we should release thumb. When we release thumb, the liquid will start to percolate downward, even though we will see a drop will hang here at the tip of the pipette. To remove that drop, we will touch the bottom of the conical flask and will hit very slowly. Very slowly. There should be control in your hand, because if you will hit hard, in that case tip will break and this pipette will become useless. So you have to touch the bottom of the conical flask with the help of pipette slowly, and you will see that all the liquid is transferred to the conical flask. So once we have prepared the solution by using standard measuring flask, we have transferred solution to titration flask or conical flask with the help of pipette. Now time comes for another important instrument, which is known as burette. This is our burette. This burette is of 50 ml. 25 ml burette also comes. 20 ml burette is also available, but normally in lab we use 50 ml burette. So this one is 50.0 ml burette. So while filling liquid inside the burette, we have to remember certain precautions. The first precaution is, when we fill the liquid in the burette, we should take out burette in our hand. You can see this is our burette. This is knob of burette through which we control the flow of solution into the titration flask. You can close it, you can open it, but neither we should close very hard nor we should open very hard. We should treat this very gently. Otherwise, this cork will slip, and in that case, this burette will become useless. So, to pour the liquid, first we keep burette in our hand in this manner, and then with the help of beaker, we keep our burette at 45-degree angle, and then with the help of beaker, we pass solution into the burette. When we pass solution into the burette, solution will fill inside the burette, and when solution comes little above this zero value, here calibration is there, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 50 ml. So when solution goes little above the 0 here written, when we fill from this tip to this 0, it will contain 50 ml solution. So to take accurate 50 ml solution, we will fill this burette little above this circle. Where 0 is written, above that we will fill the solution, and then we will, with the help of knob, we will open slowly so that solution should come down. When it comes at 0 level, then we'll close the knob. Again you have to remember, if there is colorless solution, in that case we'll check whether the lower part of the meniscus is touching this circle or not, and if it is colored solution, in that case we'll check upper part of the meniscus is touching this circle or not. In case of colorless solution, you have to check upper part of the meniscus. In case of colorless, you have to check lower part of the meniscus. Another important thing that you have to check, that there should not be any air bubble inside the burette. If there will be air bubble, that will cause error, because their bubble contains the volume of air, not volume of solution. But that volume will be included in this. If we take here 50 ml, this 50 ml will be equal to volume of solution plus volume of air bubble. And air does not go inside the titration flask. That's why we should avoid air bubble inside the burette. To remove the three methods are there. First, you should fill up to here. You should fill solution up to here, and then you should release. Air bubble will come out with the solution. Another, even that if air bubble remains, then you can tap slowly on the burette. When you will tap, this air bubble will move and it will come out. Once all the air bubbles are removed, solution is filled up to 50 ml, then we fix it in the burette stand. This one is our burette stand. This is the clamp through which we fix the burette. So we fix burette in the burette stand. Once burette stand is fixed, solution is filled inside the burette. Now the finally we start titration. For the titration, what we do, that we keep our titration flask just below this burette, and then there is use of hand. We will use our left hand to control the knob like this. We will make one V, and this V will put here, and then with the right hand we will shake this solution. When we will shake this solution, chemical reaction will take place inside. If it is redox reaction, then redox reaction will take place. If it is acid-base neutralization, then neutralization reaction will take place, and we will come to know the end point with the help of color change. In some cases, reactant itself is indicator. In some cases, we have to add indicator. For example, if we are performing acid-base titration, in that case, we have to use phenolphthalein as an indicator. When we add phenolphthalein in basic solution, it turns pink. When we titrate with acid, on the when all the base will be neutralized, when end point will come, in that case solution will turn from pink to colorless. That is indicator of end point. So when end point comes, end point means when reaction is completely over. When end point comes, then we close the knob and we note down volume from burette, and we will make an experimental table, and then by using the formula we will calculate the strength of a known solution. So how we use, this is how we use all these instruments and glasswares. One important thing is that whenever we have to perform any heating work, in that case we have to use test tube. This one is test tube, shape of this both are same, but this one is called boiling tube. Whenever you have to boil any liquid or any solution, then we use this one. So you can see here, this one is test tube holder. You can fix test tube inside the test tube holder like this. We will put the test tube inside, and then with the here clamp we will fix it. When we will fix it, it will tight, and then we can hold test tube with the help of test tube holder. We should not hold directly, because if we are heating and it becomes hot, then we will have a burn. To avoid that burning, we use test tube holder. So whenever you have to heat any solution, then you should use test tube holder. Second important thing is this is wire gauze. If we have to heat any solution, then two ways are there. Whether we put directly over the flame, that is the wrong method. We should not heat anything directly putting over the flame, because if we put directly over the flame, the downside temperature will be very high, upside temperature will be low, and we will not get the desired result. So we always put wire gauze over the burner, over the tripod stand, This one is known as tripod stand. The reason is you can see it has 3 legs, 1, 2, 3. For leg we use the term pod. So this is tripod stand. So first we will put this tripod stand over the burner, and over that we will put this wire gauze, and then we will place a beaker, and then we will perform heating. So this is wire gauze, this one is tripod stand. In any chemical reaction, suppose if we have to monitor temperature of the reaction, we are going to carry out any chemical reaction at certain temperature, then we need thermometer also. This thermometer is laboratory thermometer. There are two types of thermometer, clinical thermometer and laboratory thermometer. In case of clinical thermometer, temperature limit is from body temperature to outside 37 degrees Celsius to above maybe up to 38 degrees Celsius, 39 degrees Celsius. That limit is there for clinical thermometer, because the purpose of that thermometer is to measure the temperature of your body. But this is laboratory thermometer. We have to measure a wide range of temperature, so we use this one. So you can see in this one we have a wide range for the measurement of temperature. We can measure here temperature from 10 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius. We have this thermometer. With the help of this thermometer, we can measure temperature from 10 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius. So it is laboratory thermometer. It has wide range of measurement. Some more advanced laboratory thermometer also comes, which can measure temperature below 0 degrees Celsius to 400-500 degrees Celsius. But that is not required in the school laboratory. That is required in the research laboratory. So here we have our thermometer of our purpose, which has range 10 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius temperature. So this is laboratory thermometer. Whenever we have to use thermometer, we should be very careful regarding handling of the thermometer, because it is made out of glass and inside mercury is filled. If you little bit mishandle this thermometer, it could break, and its glasses may scatter here and there, may cause damage to you. So be careful while using clinical thermometer. We should handle thermometer very carefully. So this was our thermometer. Once you perform all the practical, then washing is very important in chemistry practical. Before starting practical, you should wash, clean your glasswares, and after the end of practical also you should wash and clean your glasswares. For washing, there is this one brush. With the help of brush, you can take detergent, and by moving this, you can wash your test tube or any other glassware. So in this session, we have seen the uses of pipette, burette, beaker, standard measuring flask, conical flask or titration flask, test tube holder, clinical thermometer. In the next session, we will see some more interesting facts about chemistry lab. Thank you.